Well, hello everyone and welcome to the Respond Customer Service webinar series, which takes place the second Tuesday of the month. We're glad you've joined us this morning. Before I hand things over to Kathy, I just want to remind everyone that we have a great lineup of 2016 user trainings still available. A few have already passed, but we do have some upcoming and immediate trainings as well as an advanced training. You can get more information on our website by going to tritech.com. You just go to the news and events section and you'll see a customer area there. And if you go to the Respond section there, you'll see all of our customer events for the Respond brand. And we hope that you'll take some time to look that over and consider if one of those upcoming trainings might work into your schedule. All right, with that, I just want to remind everyone that you are welcome to enter questions at any time throughout today's presentation. Kathy will get to your questions at the end. If that dashboard does collapse, you can just expand it by clicking on that red arrow. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Kathy. Kathy's going to be speaking about the utilities menu today. So good morning.
Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Ransom. I'm the Senior Trainer here at TriTech. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's Customer Service webinar. Today we're going to be visiting some of the items that live under the Utilities menu. Many of these items will not be visible, and you will need to contact TriTech Support or TriTech Sales to have these utilities turned on. The reason for that is some of these utilities are in fact a bit dangerous and they should be ran by management or supervisory personnel. Not all of them, but some of them. The first utility that we're going to talk about is the Special Processing utility. So again, under the Utilities menu, I went to Special Processing. Special Processing is a utility that allows you to read some of the reports that you receive back from your trading partner. Many of the trading partners will provide you with a 999 or a 277 acknowledgement report, which allows you to view the acceptance or perhaps the denial of a batch. The 277 then allows you to see whether that claim was accepted at the claim level or not. Underneath the special processing option, we would grab the option of 5010. You would then find that 999 or that 277 on your computer by browsing through the report and path. You may have it saved, you may not. And last but not least, you would run the report. Again, the 999 report will tell you if that batch was accepted or denied, and the 277 would at the claim level tell you if the claim was accepted or denied. Some of you do not use a special processing utility because you're already reading that information from your clearinghouse. But for those that get the reports directly from your trading partner, such as Neridian or Trailblazer, then the special processing utility is there for that use. The change code utility is another utility that many of you may have forgotten that is available or may not even know about. The change code utility is a tool that can be used to deactivate codes, to activate codes that had been deactivated, or to merge codes with another code. So as I'm saying those, this should be like a red flag that, wow, I wouldn't want all of my billing staff to probably have the ability to do this, but rather this would be a management team function, and you'd want to talk about the codes prior to moving them. So I'm going to come in and show you an example. We're going to choose the caller code. And if I go to and look in my codes that I have set up in the program here and look at my callers, I can see that I've had extra people in the program that have set up their own codes for 911. So I have 3 911 codes. So in this example, I am going to merge 3 911 caller codes into one. So my first item is to choose which of these is going to be my source code. Which one do I want to keep? So I'm going to keep the ID of 911 description 911. And then it's asking me, so what do I want to do? Do I want to activate? Do I want to deactivate? Do I want to change the code and leave it active, or change the code and deactivate deactivate. And so I'm going to change the code and then deactivate. And actually, I did that. I'm going to move these back and move those other two over. I picked the wrong one. And then my destination code is my 911. I'm going to accept it to the grid. I'm going to go ahead and run. And now when we go to our codes, caller, we just have the 911 that's active. I can come down to my inactive codes by choosing the inactive code displayed on my radio button. I can also come in and look at the history record, and anytime you use that change code utility, you can see that it does leave a historical record. So in this case, it indicates who did it and what they did, and the new value was that they merged it into this 911 caller code. If we had codes that we wanted to just inactivate because we have so many of them, I'm going to choose another one, and I'm going to choose zone codes. So as you can see here, I have many zones that are the same or similar names. And if I want to have just one code that is the same and I want to deactivate some other codes, in this case, I'm saying take these source codes and I'm going to deactivate them. I'm going to accept it to the grid, run. And again, that was just a really, really quick way for me to use a utility to deactivate then a larger group of codes. And again, the historical record will show on that as well. So the change code utility, again, can be used to activate codes. The source code will not be changed to the destination code, but it will only stay activated. You can deactivate it code, so your source code will not be changed, but it will actually get deactivated. You can change the code and leave it active, or you can change the code, meaning merge it and deactivate. Again, there is a history record that is written on the code, so regardless of whether the codes were used as a source code or a destination code, you have the ability to view the change that occurred on the specific code, just like I showed you. Again, be careful, especially with the payer codes, because if you choose to change the code, deactivate the code, or leave it active for any payer code, remember those payers are attached to patients, and just by deactivating them doesn't make them not available for use. So when you deactivate something, it isn't going to remove it from that patient. It just means that you couldn't choose it to apply new. You also might want to verify overrides before you would deactivate codes, such as on the charge code, company codes, credits, locations, reasons, and payers. Anytime you have overrides and you're using the change code utility, that could have an effect on other codes. So again, the change code utility is one of those a little bit dangerous utilities, and you'd want to make sure that maybe you had help from someone here at TriTech the first time you ran it to ensure that you don't run into any problems. The next utility to talk about is the update schedule event utility. Usually the update schedule event utility is a utility that we turn on. Someone here at TriTech helps you run it, and then we turn it back off. While this tool is multifunctional and it's very, very convenient, it can also create problems. Updates that have been performed by unauthorized users or updates that are performed incorrectly and inadequately could cause widespread difficulties in your system. So we really truly recommend that you restrict the use of this utility within your organization and call upon one of the TriTech support people to help you with it. So the update schedule event utility, what it does, it allows you to automatically update specific information on a call or a patient. That information that you can change or update includes the assigned user. It includes the current payer, the current schedule, and event. And so if you want to clean up your schedule, such as you want to make a general change to a lot of records for any reason, you could use this utility to do that. If you decide to deactivate a schedule and replace it with another schedule, the update schedule event utility allows you the functionality to carry out that type of a change. If you have an event titled Review for Collections and you like to manually review calls that are currently in this event, and then you decide that you want to move all those calls and ascent to collections, you could utilize the update schedule event utility to do that. If you experience changes or turnover in your staff and you wish to update the assigned user on calls or on patients, specifically if you use like the collection report, you could utilize the update schedule event utility and update the assigned user on the call or the patient and use that option of this utility. If you have a specific payer that merges with another payer, you could utilize the update schedule event utility to replace the current payer or update the current payer by utilizing this as well. So I'm going to give you an example of how a lot of people use this utility, and they do this over the course of the year, maybe quarterly. And what they double check on is all of the calls that have a balance of 0. They want to make sure that those ended up in the 0 balance schedule. So what I am going to do is I am going to run a call report that's equal to 0 to see if I have any calls that are hanging out there not in the 0 balance or in the paid in full schedule. So all I did was come to the call report. I asked for a summary. On the basic filters tab, I have chosen call balance equal to 0. And on my summary options, I'm going to uncheck the schedule event summary and choose just to look at this report as the schedule that the calls are in. So I can see on here that I have 2,150 calls that are in my old calls written off schedule, and I would want to leave those there. I have 127 in an upload schedule. I would want to leave those there. But I do have some calls. It looks like 2 in private pay, 4 in Medicare electronic, a couple in insurance secondary. And those calls have balances of 0, which we can see in the balance column, but they're in the wrong schedule. So I can use my update schedule event utility to move those. Remembering that I'm going to ignore the old calls written off and the upload from EPCR. So I'll come into my update schedule event utility, and I'm going to choose to update, and I'm going to choose my schedule then of 0, and that's where I want the calls to end up. Notice I've kept preview list, do not update checked, because I will want to do a preview first to check my work before I actually ran it. I do have to choose a company. This is where I would choose those schedules that I want to include. And remember, I don't want to include the write-off, and I don't want to include those uploaded calls. So the old calls written off, I'm going to move over to the excluded side of the double-paned window. And my old calls written off, I've got those, my upload calls, that's what we're looking for. Here we go. So I'm going to exclude old calls written off and calls in the upload from Fusion EPCR. You know I have calls in my 0 balance schedule, so I'm going to exclude those as well. I don't care what events these are in, so I'm going to move all of the events over to the included side. And then remember, my call balance specification is equal to 0, and I'm not going to include calls with charges. So I'm going to exclude my calls that don't have charges on them. If I wanted to set a specific date range or just move things that had a specific payer on them, I could do that as well. But in this instance, all we're looking to do is move all of those calls that are not in the 0 balance schedule that really should be there over to that schedule. If I choose Run Update, I get my preview first, and my preview will tell me that I had 4 calls that it's going to move. So that means that it found some of those calls not in those schedules that I excluded. I can come back to the configuration, uncheck the preview, run my update, and it automatically then is going to move those calls at the balance of 0. I'm going to say update the rest of the list. It does the first one and then updates the rest for you. Many times this is a very, very long report, and because you've previewed it, you've looked it over, there really isn't a reason that you need to print that out. So again, that is the update schedule event utility. Again, it's a very powerful utility. We recommend management using this utility and perhaps with the help of TriTech staff. Last but not least, we're going to talk about one other item under the utilities dropdown, which is called code setup. Code setup allows you to customize the questionnaire items that appear on specific codes. Code questionnaire items might be necessary for your service to complete based on some of your payers. For example, Texas customers are required to answer the Medicaid place of service question on the location code. That's a question that would be turned on if you lived in the state of Texas. So from the code setup, I would choose my code of location code, and then I would need to turn on my Texas Medicaid place of service code. Many of the thousands of payers have specific information that they require to see on the CMS 1500 form or as part of the electronic file. Some questions then on the actual payers control that. So let's go to our payer code section. And as you can see in this database, I have a lot of codes turned on. The TriTech billing payer ID is one of those questions that controls the items that will print on your CMS 1500 form and are part of that electronic file. Most recently, we have been having many payers that are requesting either the company business information or the company site information in box 33 of the CMS 1500 form. When we're talking about the business information or the site information, we're talking about the information that lives on the company code in the business section or in the site section. And sometimes these are 2 different answers. The business information might be a post office box, but the site information is the actual physical address. So if your payer is requesting the site information, you would want to make sure that you have that question turned on your payer code. To do that, I'm simply going to click on New. Notice I've chosen my payer code. And I have CMS Box 33 Company Business Information. I also have CMS Box 33 Company Site Information. Once I have those 2 questions turned on, I could then go to the payer in question. I'm going to choose Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota as an example. And if Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota wanted to receive the site information, meaning the physical information, then I would simply edit the answer, come down to my CMS Box 33 Company Site Information question, and answer that to yes. Again, you do not need to do this on every payer, and this was just an example. But the code setup is where we turn on and off some of those specific questions. Again, if your state has a specific question on the location, sometimes on the unit, but most commonly on the payer codes, that's where those get turned on. Again, many of these utilities will not be visible, and you will need to contact TriTech support or TriTech sales to have the utilities turned on. Many of these utilities are dangerous, and we have a caution that perhaps the first time you use them or you would run them, you certainly would want someone from TriTech Support Services to be able to give you some help. At this time, I'll take any questions. Okay, I don't see any questions coming up. A reminder that we do have the user groups coming up this fall. We have one coming up in next week, actually, in Illinois. We have one in August in Washington, in September in Vermont. In October, we'll be out in Hershey as well. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Go out and enjoy the day. Thank you.